Imagine this. A world leader looks a prime minister in the eye and says, "Keep your money. We don't sell dignity. That's not fiction. That's real." And it happened when Captain Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso stood before the Caribbean, looked Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness dead in the eye, and said no. No to $600 million. No to a system that believes history's pain can be paid off like a debt. No to the illusion that freedom has a price tag. This wasn't a speech. It was an earthquake. In an era where politicians chase headlines and handshakes, Traoré delivered something rare, a message that didn't just echo through microphones. It cut through centuries of silence. He wasn't speaking like a man chasing wealth or foreign approval. He spoke like a man standing in the ruins of history, guarding one sacred thing, dignity. And he did it not just for Burkina Faso, but for everyone still trapped in invisible chains. The story began when Jamaican Prime Minister Andrew Holness did something remarkable. He issued a historic apology to the people of Burkina Faso, acknowledging the unspoken, the unseen, the quiet complicity of nations that watched Africa bleed. He didn't just apologize with words. He came forward with numbers, $600 million, a gesture meant as reparative justice, a symbol of remorse, a promise to heal, and for a moment the world applauded. Holness stood tall. Cameras flashed. Headlines called it a bold step toward unity. But then something happened that no one expected. Traoré stepped up, adjusted the microphone, and said the words no politician dares to say in a world obsessed with money. Burkina Faso will not accept this apology in dollars. The crowd fell silent. The world stopped scrolling. This wasn't rejection out of pride. It wasn't arrogance. It was clarity. Traoré made it clear that his country was not turning down gratitude. They were rejecting a transaction disguised as healing, because some wounds can't be bandaged with cash. Some scars are deeper than any check can reach, and some dignity, once sold, can never be bought back. He spoke like a man carrying centuries of silence on his shoulders. He looked beyond Holness, beyond the cameras, beyond the applause. He was talking to something larger, to every person in every corner of the world still fighting to reclaim their sense of worth. And then Traoré did something powerful. He flipped the message. "This isn't a rejection of Jamaica," he said. "It's a call to Jamaica, a call for self-liberation, a call for awakening." He told them, "We don't want your donation. We want your revolution." He saw in Jamaica not a nation that owed Africa money, but a nation that still carried its own chains, chains of economic dependence, chains of foreign control, chains forged in the same fires that once enslaved both continents. He reminded the Caribbean and the world that Africa and Jamaica share the same bloodline of struggle, the same oppressors, the same chains, only repainted over time. He asked a haunting question. What good is $600 million for us when Jamaica is still not free itself? He spoke about freedom not as a headline, but as a condition of the soul. Freedom, he said, isn't measured by how much money you have in your treasury, but by whether your people can walk their streets without fear, whether your children can dream without permission, whether your nation answers to its own people, not to foreign powers or global banks. Traoré wasn't rejecting money. He was rejecting dependence. He was reminding Jamaica and all of us that you cannot liberate another if you haven't liberated yourself. His words hit like a storm. We did not fight for comfort. We fought for control. That was the heartbeat of his speech, the message that made every headline tremble. He said, "You offered money for silence, but I offer you a mirror for courage." He told Jamaica, "Don't just give Africa a check. Give your people freedom. Freedom from corruption. Freedom from police brutality. Freedom from the foreign corporations that own your soil, your sugar, your bauxite, your soul." He didn't say it with anger. He said it with respect. Because his rejection wasn't a slap. It was a spark. Many critics said Traoré should have taken the money. His people need it. But he answered that question before they even asked. He said, "Poverty isn't the absence of money. It's the absence of power." Those words tore through the air like thunder. Because that's the truth no one likes to face. The poor aren't powerless because they lack wealth. They're powerless because they lack ownership of what's already theirs. He made it clear. Burkina Faso will not trade its dignity for comfort, will not exchange its independence for aid, and will not sell its soul for applause. What good is $600 million today, he asked, if tomorrow we are still on our knees? But make no mistake, Traoré's message wasn't against Jamaica. It was for Jamaica. He said, "I reject your money not because I hate you, but because I love you enough to tell you the truth." That line burned through the crowd. He was calling for solidarity, not transactions. Not aid, not charity, but unity. Because true unity, he said, can only exist between equals, between nations that stand tall, not kneel with open palms. He spoke of a shared destiny. Africa and the Caribbean cannot be free while one remains chained. If one continent remains under control, both are still in bondage. If one still answers to foreign masters, both are still enslaved by the same story. So he sent the $600 million back with a message of hope. Use it to rebuild Jamaica. Use it to free yourselves first. He envisioned a Jamaica that could walk into world forums not as a borrower or a dependent, but as a sovereign voice, a nation unbent, unbought, unafraid. He imagined a future where Jamaica's leaders stand before the world and say, "We will not apologize to Africa. We will free ourselves and walk beside Africa." That is what Traoré called true reparations. Not money, not guilt, but shared liberation. And then came the challenge, direct, respectful, but unflinching. "Prime Minister Holness," he said, "your apology was brave. But now I ask for a greater courage, the courage to fight for your people." He called on Holness to dismantle the corruption that eats away at Jamaica's heart, to reclaim the land, the industries, the culture stolen in the name of globalization, to serve not investors, not creditors, but Jamaicans, those born of the soil, those silenced by systems that were never built for them. He told Holness, "The apology must begin at home." That line was history, because for once, someone had said it plainly. You cannot heal Africa while your own house is still burning. Traoré's speech wasn't just for Jamaica. It was for every nation that has forgotten what dignity sounds like. He reminded us that the real wealth of nations isn't in their gold or GDP. It's in the courage of their people. He said, "The true currency between nations is not money, it's freedom." And in that moment, every word felt like a bullet aimed at centuries of hypocrisy. He turned a political ceremony into a moral confrontation. He turned diplomacy into defiance. And the world will remember it as one of those rare speeches where truth didn't whisper, it roared. As his voice echoed through the hall, you could feel history folding in on itself. He invoked the spirits of Nanny of the Maroons, Marcus Garvey, and every freedom fighter who dared to dream when the world said, "Stay in your place." He said, they did not fight for checks. They fought for liberation. That line hit like prophecy, because he was right. Our ancestors didn't dream of reparations. They dreamed of revolution. They didn't dream of apologies. They dreamed of accountability. They didn't die for pity. They died for power. Traoré was saying what too many are afraid to say out loud. You cannot buy freedom. You must build it. He ended with a truth that silenced every critic. We will walk this road alone if we must, but we will walk it with our heads held high. That's leadership. That's legacy. That's resistance carved into the bones of a generation refusing to kneel. And then with his final words, he turned the world's concept of power upside down. Keep your $600 million. Use it to heal your wounds. Rebuild your nation. Free your people. And when you have done that, come not with a check, but with your flag raised high. Then we will walk together as brothers. The crowd erupted. But what lingered wasn't applause. It was awareness. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about identity, about who gets to define value, about who gets to say we are free. And now the question is for you. Because this moment isn't just about Jamaica or Burkina Faso. It's about all of us. How much of your freedom are you willing to sell for comfort? How much of your dignity are you ready to trade for approval? Drop your thoughts below. Do you think Traoré was right to reject the money? Or was it a mistake in a world where nations are struggling to survive? Let's talk about it. Because the debate isn't just political, it's personal. It's about the soul of nations. And here on Traoré versus America, we don't just watch history, we question it. We challenge it. We rewrite it. This is Traoré versus America, where truth has no price tag. And dignity always comes before dollars.